Rinpoche.
Mani Padme Hum.
Good morning. Please try your best to scoot up. Today there's not that many people, but if you can try to come forward a little bit. Yeah, people will be arriving late, so please just come to the front. I'd like to take this a couple of minutes before the teachings begin. And I'm going to request, after I speak for about 2 minutes, to update. Lance will also give us some updates.
I suggest you to go up there so I can live stream.
Again, we are truly blessed to have our beloved Abala, that's his nickname, created by our main benefactors here, the Bui family, our chief benefactors, but our beloved teacher who's inspired and who has blessed and created this incredible, beautiful Dharma center. So it is through his blessings and through his generous contributions, financial, through his disciples, that we are at this time and place to offer the teachings. So I'm going to request Lance to give us an update on the balance of our mortgage. We also always have to talk about the financial aspects. We want to be transparent, and so we are really getting there. But towards fulfilling this aspiration to pay down the mortgage so that we can concentrate on the quality of the teachings, in the footsteps of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and His Holiness Chetsang Garchen Rinpoche has truly inspired us. And I'd like to welcome everybody on behalf of our spiritual director, our resident teacher, Khenpo Samdrup Rinpoche, who he is not only the representative of Garchen Rinpoche, but he has worked tirelessly to establish this center. So, update towards the paying down the mortgage. We have a few sponsors. I'd like to acknowledge Gary and Catherine Holmes have donated $11,000 towards the mortgage on the occasion of Garchen Rinpoche's birthday. Then we have Devane Eligary, $2,000. This is sponsoring one of the Buddha images here in this hall. Their names, the sponsor's name, or to whomever they offer this, will be put there for posterity. So this goes towards paying down the mortgage. We have Dr. Jeremy Stowell. He sponsored another Buddha. Amila Tupanwitz, $1,000. Lynn Waters, Zikai Lin, Kesan Penso family from New York. Han Lam, another $1,000. And Auntie Hang Tem. So these folks have just recently contributed. So I really request from the bottom of my heart to try to be generous, become sustaining members, the volunteers, and if you could kindly consider sponsoring anything that you can do. And then we have things in the hall that will go towards the sale. Thank you. Thanks, Lance.
Oh, thank you. Just take another moment And thanks everybody for coming. And for those of you who may not know, we're called the Drikung Dharma Surya Center. So Drikung is the lineage that Lord Jigten Sumgun founded 800 years ago. And Dharma, we all know, is the speech of the Buddha. And Surya is the sun, is the light of the Dharma. And of course, we're the center for that. So Garchen Rinpoche gave us the name, the Drikung Dharma Surya Center. So this is like the light of the shining Dharma. So that shining radiance is none other than Garchen Rinpoche himself. So everything that we do is a result of the love and the energy, the compassion that we receive from Garchen Rinpoche. And he has tirelessly worked for this center and many, many, many other centers. So everything that we can do to help support his work is really a great boon for everyone, great generosity and so on. So whether it's Dharma practice, or it's helping around in the Dharma facility, or it's making generous donations, they're all very important and all very much appreciated. So, okay. I don't know why they want me on TV. Okay. So, the importance of the center, maybe is obvious for most of us, but the thing that we talked about last week, and maybe some of you heard this, but again, when we're born and we have children, grandchildren, to be able to bring them to a center like this for a blessing from the Lama and from the Sangha is very important. It's part of being in the community. When we get married, we can come to the center like this and have a Buddhist ceremony and have the blessing of the Lama and the Sangha when we get married or our children get married. When we get sick, we can come to the center and we can do prayers, medicine Buddha, we can do that with the Lama, we can do it with the Sangha. And when we pass away, that's what this POA practice is that we're about to do today, is to be able to help us to guide us through the bardo and so on. So with the support of the Lama and the support of the Sangha is very, very important and significant. So these are 4 very important reasons why Dharma Surya Center is so important. Another, of course, is to take refuge, practice refuge, do the Nundro practices, and so many other practices. So when you're contributing in whatever way you can, you're helping to support those efforts for yourself and for the community, for the Sangha at large. The next message is that when Rinpoche leaves here at the end of April, first part of May, he's going to Gardroma in Dayton, Ohio. And there he's going to be giving teachings for 3 weekends that are going to be his experiences and the pith instructions that he received from his master, Khenpo Munsel, and other teachers that he received. And Garchen Rinpoche has never given these teachings before. He's never talked about these experiences before. So Khenpo Sandop has requested Garchen Rinpoche to do this, and this is going to be very, very significant. Now, I know everybody cannot go to Ohio. They would love for you to go, but it will be live streamed here. So if you want to join us for that, I believe the dates are going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday each week. We'll have to get that confirmed, but we'll be live streaming it, and we'll have a big screen here, so everybody will be able to see it and hear it as if we were there. And we know that Garchen Rinpoche's blessings come timelessly and locationless. So wherever we are, we'll be able to receive those blessings. So thank you very much. Enjoy the day, and we'll talk more later on. The text, we have textbooks that we're going to be using today. We need to share them. We have a limited quality. There are a few left that we printed for personal use, that you can make a contribution. They're in the bookstore, and you can get those. If we've run out, we're going to print some more this evening. So we had a wonderful help from a bunch of people who helped us put these together real quick last night, and we'll put some more. So if you want to sign up for them, so we know how many to print, will be very helpful. So if you let them know in the bookstore, that'd be great. Okay? Thank you very much. Tashi Dile.
Thank you, Lance. Good morning, everyone. We're going to do the opening prayer. So the morning section is Rinpoche going to give power teachings. And afternoon, first section, Rinpoche going to do power for, giving transmission. And the last section, evening, afternoon, the last section, we're going to practicing together. So 3 sections. And the first one, teaching. Second one, Rinpoche going to give transmissions. Third one is we're going to practicing together. So now we're going to do opening prayer, page 34. So the sum we're going to do 3 times. The sum is just once, only English. So this first part we do only once English. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separate from suffering, and safely I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with the body, speech, and the mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with the body, speech, and the mind. From now until this time, tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with the body, speech, and the mind. We take refuge in the kind Ru Lama and the lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deity of the mandalas of the Yadams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble darkness and the Dhamma gardens, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Until I enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the example of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embodied the enlightenment and the progress on the Bodhisattva's path, are true for the benefit of all sentient beings, giving birth to bodhicitta, and apply myself to complete stage of the path. Another twice again. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the example of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embodied the enlightenment and the progress on the Bodhisattva's path, are true for the benefit of all sentient beings, giving birth to bodhicitta, and apply myself to complete stage of the path. Once Tibetan. Sanjo Nyembo Chije Sanje Nam La Chasem Che Che Dai Sanjo Sembaye So Lai De Yin Chasem Che Sanjo Do Ne Je Ba Da Sanjo Zembe La Ba La Te Dai Ren Ye Ne Ba Da Te Ye Ro Lai Ben Don De Sanjo Zem Ne Je Te ye de ne la ba la, re ba yen de la ba re je, in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent. I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of Janarastra and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of Janarastra and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sanje Chö Dain So Je Chö Nam La Sanjo Barada Dai Ne Jab Sem Je Dai Ge Jin So Je Be So Nam Je Ro La Ben Zer Sanje Ro Bar Jo. May all Mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never be suffering from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all Mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never be suffering from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Mai Nam Ga Da Nyam Be Sem Je Dam Je Dewa Da Deve Je Da Dem Bar Jur Je Dong Ar Da Dong Ar Je Je Da Dawa Jur Je Dong Ar Me Be Dewa Da Men Dawa Jur Je Nye Seven-line prayer we do only English. I bow down respectfully with my body, speech, and faithful mind to all Tathangatas and the 10 directions. Those who have already reached the Tathangata state, those who are reaching it at present, and those Tathangata state to come. Through the power of Sammeda Buddha's prayer, may all Buddhas manifest vividly in my mind. I prostrate to them, multiplying my body as many times as there are atoms of the earth. In each atom, I visualize as many Buddhas as there are atoms. Surrounded by my countless Bodhisattvas, thus all space is filled with Buddha and Bodhisattvas. I praise all Buddhas through manifesting, chanting, expressing the great ocean of excellent qualities. To all the Buddhas, I make offerings of various pure flowers, flower garlands of music, anointing oils, manifesting light and fragrant incense. I make offerings to them of fine garments, perfume and purple, pearl high as Mount Meru, and orange and the most beautiful. Highest and most extensive offerings, and offer them with great faith to all the Buddhas. I prostrate to the Buddhas and make offerings to them, following the deeds of the great Bodhisattvas Sammedabhara. I confess to you, Buddhas, whatever negative actions I have committed due to the power of anger, desire, and ignorance. I rejoice in the merit of all the Buddhas and the 10 directions of the great Bodhisattvas and the Pakshika Buddhas, those who have attained Aharaship, those who have entered the path of Aharaship, and all other beings. I recourse to all great protectors and Buddhas to turn the highest way of Dharma, is the light dispelling the darkness of beings in the 10 directions and leading them gradually to the enlightened state. I make recourse to those Buddhas intending to pass into Parinirvana, to living long for us many eons as they are atoms of the earth, in order to benefit all beings. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. Unequal refuge, ornament of the world. Your fame provides the 3,000 worlds. You are the victor, Vajradhara, widow adored. I bow at feet of Father Jigdin Songgon. Continually I think of no one but you. Compassionate one, grant your blessings. Dispel the darkness that surrounds by my heart. Please bless me so that I can realize the unliberated nature of my mind. Go to the... Where's the... Oh. Sa ye pe je zo ye me do ra re ra le ye nye de je ba de sa je je la me de gur wa ye ro ge nam da yen de je ba re jo om gur re nam da Namandal Padasaya Soha Semje Namje Samba Loya Seda Chetavar Chechong De Mong De Bai Chechong Golo Gordo Zo
Mobotu Chetiba, Chemate Babo, the Javier, the Jijulas, the Lord of giving it on the road, Cheto, Jobashi, the Chulas, the Lord on the Travel, and all about the Shakatambayo, the Genula Jones, Road, the Pamong by Javan Romba, Kajilamamazo, the Omichin, Japan, the Rasim Chokamata, the Savella Major, the Saturno Achanda Chuji, Yasomi Mojava, Gila, so Simjito, the Danchina, Tamba Chuji, they should all the matter in Poamo Cruciaris. The Limpoa in the number Sajipe, should Tanji, Kang, Sozang Hasan Kare, but Tatuk Saji on top of top corner, 3 Yamni, Tamji, young Poa Jirayori, Dona Poa, the Chupa Chaji, Kangri, Rap Chukata, the Poa, so the Saxi Doxing community, 7 Melodona. The important position that are some pardosim, Jigris and Belgium water, Chesomari, said that are some pardosim, Jitto, and Jerry, Chakasan, Sajimes, with it are very important position, Chukupoa.
So, my Dharma friends, today I will give an introduction to the practice of Poam, the transference of consciousness. And now in general, all of the Buddha's teachings are comprised of the 3 levels of the path. The path of individual liberation at Pratimoksha, the path of the Bodhisattvas, and the secret mantra Vajrayana path. And all of these different paths are all methods to attain the state of enlightenment ultimately. And so in that sense also all the practices are related, are connected somehow to the Poa practice. So in their essential meaning they are the same. And so for the Poa practice, first there is the highest Poa practice that is called the Poam, Dharmakaya Poam of the view. And that is, for example, those who practice Mahamudra or Dzogchen. When you realize the actual nature of your mind, then you realize that there is actually no duality between someone who transfers the consciousness and then the consciousness and the transferring itself. So it all becomes one. Lord Jigten Sumgön had also said, I'm a yogin who has realized this life, the bardo, and future lives to be one. So therefore there is no like kind of border or juncture. There's no point of death. So ideally, when one realizes that, the ultimate view, that is called the Dharmakaya Poa of the view. And so practitioners, for example, like Milarepa, or anyone who practices Mahamudra and Dzogchen, or we practice shamatha and vipassana. For example, if you have really understood the root of vipassana or insight, then you realize that the mind is empty, like space. So Milarepa said there is no difference between the mind and space. So the mind is like space, but there is also a clear knowing awareness that knows its empty nature. That is clarity and emptiness, and that nature is beyond birth and death. So if the mind remains unobscured by those temporary thoughts, then you can recognize the mind that is beyond birth and death, that abides just like space. So you can gain an actual experience of the natural state of the mind, and then later, through that experience, when you actually die, you can understand that ultimately there is actually no one who transfers, and there's no I'm transferring anywhere. There's no more duality. So that is the experience that can be gained. And actually, when that is realized, there is no need to even practice poem at all. We just call it the Dharmakaya poem. We give it this term, but in fact, in essence, in true meaning, it is not really an actual poa practice, because at this point, it is not necessary to even practice anything any longer, because you already have gained the experience of the space-like nature of the mind.
요왕가의 감상이 저거 탐 이 대상을 주대 야의 감상이 덤을 때 저런 야당도 있잖아. 그때 자식 용화서 제 조냐 손도 요래 롱구 보아서 그때 저게 보니 바래
And so then the second poem, the middling poem, is that of the Asambhogakaya, which is the union of the generation and completion stages. And so the generation stage, the visualization of the deity, is practiced in order to purify the existence of birth, the way in which we take birth. And so there, first we visualize the deity, which is just like there's this entire outer universe and all the beings within it. So in the beginning, we see it as actually arising, as actually being there, like this entire mandala of the deity. But then in the end, in the completion, we meditate on its empty nature. So then again, it dissolves. So the universe and beings arise, but then again, they're empty of self-nature. And so, therefore, the form of the Sambhogakaya, its nature is clear and empty. The nature of clarity is emptiness, and the nature of emptiness is clarity. So the deity appears just like a rainbow in the sky, and then in the end, in the completion stage, it dissolves again. And so in this way, we are training in the generation and completion stages. And so, as we mentioned yesterday, if you really understand the nature of the generation stage, you understand the entire universe and all beings within it to have the nature of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, Yab and Yum, and their like immeasurable palace. And so if you habituate to this now in this life, then later in the second bardo, you can attain enlightenment into the Sambhogakaya. And so also that is given the name poem, the poem of the Sambhogakaya, which is the union of the generation and completion stages. And so first, when you have died, you fall into an unconscious state. And then you awaken from that state, which is just like waking up from sleeping. And then if through habituation, you remember at that point the Yidam deity instantly without allowing any other thought to intervene, then you will attain enlightenment into the nature of that Yidam deity. And so now when we still have this body, it is we have this limitation of the physical body, and so therefore we are now habituating to the Yidam, but this body is like a cloak, that we are wearing. And so because we are wearing this cloak, this dress of this body, we again forget about the Yidam deity, because constantly these ordinary habitual patterns of this life arise. And these are triggered by the 6 sense sensation, the feelings that are triggered by the 6 sense objects. And so therefore, now we always forget about being the Yidam deity. But at the time in the bardo, this physical form is gone, so we will instantly be able to transform into that Yidam. And so also now in this life when we engage in practice, through habituating to that, we also begin to see that this life is just like an illusion. And so then later when you come to the second bardo, then you will instantly transform into the Yidam, the rainbow-like form of the Yidam deity that we also refer to as the unchanging Vajra body. And so that is due to the power of the generation stage. So through the power of the generation stage or the deity yoga, actually you attain enlightenment in the second bardo, which is called the Sambhogakaya poem, that is the union of generation and completion stages. So in the generation stage, the visualization purifies the existence of birth. And the completion stage purifies the stages of death. It explains very clearly the stages of dying. How, for example, the 5 elements dissolve one into the other and so on. And we train in that when we practice the completion stage. We have visualized the immeasurable palace of the deity, and that then gradually dissolves. So this is how we train in the completion stage, which purifies the existence of death. We are training in the existence of death. And now habituating to that, that is called the Sambhogakaya poem, which is the union of the generation and completion stages, or so it's the middling or second kind of poem.
one go kabiteri bena pafana chati sa gongo tata gongo yore kepa kashi chokorang saye bashiko eso da aya de songo teta wena de songa ta shi so sana o nyuwa nga do korang yin sare ni sare ni ba de ta rona te ta nang shi ba te ta nang shi ta ta kare ta nang da ma da ba na ni kai do de la 다들 사사리 또또 최초에서 신중왕가도 강양들이 저러면 때려 싸서니 따르요래 맞다와도 가래 오장 로버트 마켓 생코랑라 상다니요래 정말이 사축서 진행을로래 똑바로 다 제대로 돈이 뭐발에 됐는데 슬퍼도 당한 거 같이래 오 마다 나와도 소소에 레다 박샤게 별 슬라고야 보도는 때라 조바다다 탑바라서 왔다 너무 통화제데 조바 차제 그래서 로버트 봐 지나지 다시 유모 로버트 나가 뛰지 봤다고 저기요에 이제는 거네 탑바리 사나하고나 들랑 그 셈데 이제 탑바리 이제 탑바 로버트 바리 사나 그 로버트 바지 되니까 랑게 대바다 다당 이제 다다도 갑자기 셔도 받쳐도 그랬다. 사이고 당가라서 왔다지. 당가리 거다리라고 조트복서 무슨도 문제게요. 그래서 왕고 거 봐야 당양데 오 like 무슨에 사실 좀다버리 사실 유지지나 이제 세배샤라 단적차에 대해서 받도록 하나 들이 받도록 무슨데 맥데들이 받쳐다버리 샘들 받게들이 그거다 차들이 느낌이 배야나 빠야 보이 잡잖아 그래서 그 파트 요리 때는 샘들 사이랑 좀 파트 요리 때렸다 파트 문이 장애들 그래서 그때를 된적 그요래 때 다낭다 이시지 다낭되더라고 또박을 마다는 하나도 다 송잖아 들이들 살살 라트들 사이 버터지 섭동자 송자를 저듯이 해요. 어디서 생활한 섭동 이말 하고는 무서워 다 문의해서 이시고 때고요. 내가 다낭다 이시기를 때문에 로봇 제조소 용포하게 다낭다 이시기 같이 거래.
And so what is most important actually is something that we have been introduced to also during the empowerment. And that is in the empowerment where we were told that it is important that we recognize the 5 elements to be the deity. And so in this context, this is really extremely important to recognize. As we mentioned also yesterday during the empowerment, and it is often mentioned by the great scholars and masters in their commentaries on the tantras and so on, explaining the meaning of the empowerment. And when we receive an empowerment, we are receiving the water, the nectar from the vase, and we were told that we should see this vase water as the deity. So the great masters therefore have said that you should recognize the water as the deity. And that really is the basis of the secret mantra, the Vajrayana. It is a pure perception. And in reality, the 5 elements really actually are the deity. So it is most important as a foundation of the secret mantra practice to develop a pure perception, where all impure perception is cleared away. So now from an impure ordinary perspective, for example, when we see earth, we just think it's normal earth. And a rock is a rock and water is water. And no one really considers the 5 elements as something very special, just as the elements or even dirt. And therefore we make a distinction between clean and dirty, or pure and impure. So what is actually impure is only our temporary thoughts, these temporary obscurations. But what is the mind itself is actually always pure. It is never defiled. And what purifies this temporary obscuration is the altruistic mind or bodhicitta. So what must be purified is the self-grasping and all the afflictive emotions. That is the only impurity that needs to be removed. So especially in the Vajrayana, the pure perception is extremely important. And it is just due to our karmas and habitual imprints that things often appear to us in an impure way. For example, when we see a deity, an image of a deity, we think that is very pure, that is very good. And then when we see some earth or some dust and so on, we label that as dirty or defiled. But actually, any of the elements really is the deity. So the only obscuration, the only impurity that really exists now is our own afflictive emotions. And they don't inherently exist. So the basis of our mind, our true nature, is always pure. So we purify these temporary obscurations by cultivating faith, compassion, and such a pure perception according to the Vajrayana view. And then when we see a deity, for example, it is just like you are taking a picture with a camera. So you see like a statue, for example, or you see a tanka, an image of a deity. Often people just think, oh, that's just a tanka, that's just a picture. But actually, it's not just a picture, it is the actual deity. We call that a created nirmana kaya that actually performs a function. So during the empowerment, for this reason, we are always given an image, a picture of the deity, and we are instructed to look at this picture over and over again. So we recognize the deity. We know that this is how the deity looks like, and we remember the deity's qualities. So in that way, we are habituating to recognizing the deity. And in that sense, then by looking at the image, our eyes become like a camera that is taking a picture. And when the picture is taken, it is stored in the mind as like an imprint, and later in the bardo, that imprint will manifest, will arise, and you will see the deity, because it is kept in your mind. So this is how we should understand the significance of those deity images. And that's really something that makes logical sense too, how we look at something and how this then stores an imprint in our mind. And that's why the imprint can arise later on in the bardo. So how we purify our impure perception is mainly through trust in the deity and the pure perception. And then when impure perceptions are cleared away, the deity arises in its rainbow-like form that is clear and empty. And so we are always introduced to the nature of the deity. And that clear and empty nature is actually the nature of your own mind. And so by recognizing that, then you can develop trust on how the deity really actually is established within your own mind. And so this is how, through a pure perception and trust in the Bardo Latam, the deity arises. So that is called the middling poa of the Sambhogakaya, and that is the union of the generation and completion stages.
답으로 랑동적들이나 로바체 저거요 세미 투기포와 또라 사바다 진짜로 뛰어들이 담포체 디타다 다다 무슨 포장하던데 제대로 니요레다 제인의 카시나들이 매체들로 소속에 이시제 봐 아티보요 봐 이시제 봐 가면 되는데 이시제가 좀제지 집에 봐 좀제리 지금 사족선에 집아 사족선이 이런 있지나 이제 사족선에서 왔다 그래 내가 토리장 사족 사지의 시험 다음에 바꿔서 항상 사족선이랑 오늘 접도 받으라 이게 이시제 두고요래 이제 해당장 차도를 냐와 해당 세상을 들이 냐와서 이다라서 무슨 지장하죠 유와 띵오잖아 지시라 지장들이 자자자 냐와서 이다라서 무슨 이거가 통치수요에 대해서 때문에 이 집에 대봐 초대 대봐 좀들이 집에 대봐 동네 집에 유와 당지의 유와를 리버레스 야 들이 내가 좀 들어왔지 사족스러운 일이 세지우나 그 사족스러운 좋아지 주고 저거 대다로 강하시기나 내는데 대대서 고고서는 남실라마서 보여줘 그 소속들이 따와라 다 주고 받았다는 어떻게 라마나 사진 것인지 시오나 샘들 라마기야 되나 라마데 바지바체나 타타라 라마나시 에메이츠 대타베 차르데 남실라마서 보여줘서 샘나 라마다라면 대 포와 초인소 대서 포와 요래 대체미 통지 포와 차라테 그거래 들이 다다 무슨 다다 포와 자야 공안데 강을 되는들이 나선이가 포와요래 내가 용마가 포와래 때말에 되니까 문제돼서 거를 못 되니 들이 잡을수록 되는 거 로보니마 그랬더니 포랑나 매셔라 파마 라서가 특초를 대고 같이 못지 대체는 거를 못지 무슨 대화를 별로 밤에 책같이 doctor the portama lam the be taragamola the mom para the yemen getri there in the one thing for the jachi boyong song what long te bare the lobo kwangaman nima the lobo nima then jini taragam the nida saje 락 저거 보고 다 저거 매가들이 락 저거도 지어야지 때때때도 때때때 돈 가지고 보아도 때 말에 돈 저거를 보아지 봐도들이 루짜라들 짜가요 되는 다봤다요 이제 다봤다 뭐 말하시는 보아 그 탑니 마사니 있대요 했어
Then there is the third poem, that is the poem of of immeasurable compassion, the Nirmanakaya poem. And so immeasurable is that first we need to develop immeasurable love, and when there is immeasurable love, then there will also be immeasurable compassion. And cultivating immeasurable love and compassion, you will first accomplish your own benefit, and then you will be able to also benefit others. So this poem is accomplished only through love and compassion. And that is actually the poem that we are practicing now, that we usually practice. But there's two kinds to that poem. There is some people, for example, they have developed a very strong, firm trust and faith in the Powa instructions. And mainly, the best kind of faith is the trusting faith, and that really means to trust in karma. And trusting in karma means to trust in bodhicitta, to trust in the qualities of bodhicitta. And that means you understand that when the cause is bodhicitta, then as a result, temporarily, you will always take birth in the higher realms, and then ultimately you will attain the state of enlightenment and manifest the countless Buddha fields and Buddha emanations, which are all a manifestation of bodhicitta. So one is able to develop trust in that quality of bodhicitta. And likewise, you then understand, trusting karma, you understand that the cause of all suffering are the afflictive emotions, especially anger and jealousy. Now, naturally, anger leads to birth in the hell realm, and, for example, greed, stinginess leads to birth as a hungry spirit. And that is just the nature of it. These hell and hungry spirits and so on are only the natural projections of these afflictive emotions. So therefore, when these afflictions are present, then with 100% certainty one will take birth in those places, in hells and hungry spirits and so on. And so that is what we need to develop trust in, and that is the greatest form of trust. It is to trust in karma, to know that when you experience any kind of suffering, that is the result of my own afflictive emotions and self-grasping. And even if I experience just the slightest happiness, that is the quality of bodhicitta. And if you really trust in that, then you will be able to develop more bodhicitta, and you will be able to practice patience when in the face of difficulties. And so that is the best kind of trust. Also, Lord Chikden Somgun had said regarding that poem, he said that now when the consciousness, through faith, the consciousness can transfer into the luminosity, the luminous heart of the Guru, and that is the supreme Powa practice. So what that is to say is that even if you have not realized the view, still, if you have a guru that you are very devoted to, and if you really see that guru as the actual Buddha, and if that guru never leaves your mind, you never forget about the guru, then actually already now in this life, you're merging your mind with the guru's mind. And merging your mind with the guru's mind is what is meant with transferring your consciousness into the luminous heart of the guru. And so that is also referred to as Powa, or transference practice. And it is also appropriate to call that the Powa of immeasurable compassion. And so then regarding the actual Powa practice that we train in, that we practice, there is a Powa practice according to the old and the new tantric systems. And the Powa that we are practicing here belongs to the old, the Nyingma tradition, and it is a dharma that was concealed by Guru Rinpoche. At the time of Guru Rinpoche, there was his student, the Dharma king, Chisung Detsen, who had a minister called Nyimam. And one day that minister's house burned down, and that led to the demise of his parents. So he felt very strong regret. And to relieve his suffering, Guru Rinpoche miraculously traveled to the Pure Land of Garchen and met the Buddha Amitabha directly. And from the Buddha Amitabha, Guru Rinpoche then received these Powa instructions. Then he brought them back, gave them to that minister, and then they were hidden as a dharma in the Black Mandala Lake. And so now today, and now later on in future, there was a prophecy then made that by Guru Rinpoche that when he entrusted this dharma to the dharma guard, in the future this dharma is going to be a vast benefit to sentient beings. And so then in future generations, this minister Niman took birth as Nida Sangyam, who was quite poor shepherd. And he received these teachings directly from Amitabha. He received the teachings and then the Dharma, and then propagated these teachings. And so that is the teaching that we practice now in the Jikung Kagyum. So the Jikung Kagyu poem is a poem that belongs to the Dharma tradition. But whichever poem we practice, essentially they are all the same. And so the main part that is trained here, the focus of our visualization here in the Powa practice is the channel, the central channel in the body. So in general, in our body, there are pure and impure channels. And in the Powa practice, we are training the pure channel, through the pure channel, which is our central channel. So that is the Powa practice that we engage in. So again, there are two different approaches to that kind of Powa, and that is according to the new and old tantric system. And so here we are following the old tantric system.
찾긴 조니요래 찾긴 조니를 강래데 즉 세디 다 주고래 사빈께서 말에 천달러 신의 주방매지 미 서당 서인이야 다다다 메텔러 지야 마마가란 게 디바트선 조바스나 디네스다 루탄로 주 보다가 정말 렌나 참에 봤으나 또 가면서 망보요래 뒤에 탐지를 메텔을 용띠는 통구요래 때 다투 쪽을 저러고 요래서 중강리 늘지가는 사이버 늘래 메텔을 대치 인소다 나 직접 먹고 삼고요래 그 장마만 게 저사톡서 소나고 저사면은 저세 하고 근데 라그 토탕 톱송데 라그 라그 유한테 사람이 저 당어들다가 톱송 라이 스테서 벗어고요래 라마 버터비야 말이 버비 쪽고는 가시를 동에 연구요래 그 네와토 그때 지역 마마가 레좀 마셔야 돼 좀리를 뭔가데 이 다다게 동네 땅이 그게 다들 대기리 영손에 그 서마가 되었다고요 말이 대기를 들이다 가지고 그러더라 그래서 세나 세당 차도 유모가 짜장을 내서 그요래 대외에 대사제 답게 도저 대화도 그요래 도저 좋고요래 대외에서 지뭐 와서 말해 대답을 차도요래 대외나 다다 대답을 많이 받 동해지들은서 어떤 시를 가서 거 마셔봐도 아시야 작고요래 체디신 밤이가 대리 대리 체디신 바지는 사고도 써먹다니 대리 체디신 바 체디를 사 맞추나 보아게 제수제 대 출발 세바라 갈거리게 다다 점리를 집었다는 써먹다니 네 속성 요당미 대화지 요당 밑에는 딱지했다는 이제 상속점을 되니 대화지 시간 요 별은 뭐 상태지 그냥 남들로 받지는 되잖아 상속점 받자자 되잖아 뭐 대화지로 차로요 야 고도 있잖아 나도 자자 우리 다다른 것도 시당지 네 냐만 차로요라 생각이 전혀도 저는 문의들을 받아야다는 차로요 베시도 되는 주변이 집에 대박 거니 생대하시는 로조다 체들이 자주만 답이가 체들이 사회 주고 그래 베나 다정보장도 정보잖아 정 다다른 대하시는 로터를 로리 가서 도래가서 난 도래가 아까시 시설 보아장에 다용을 말해 제대로 상담한 거였지 데이터 누구 요나 대항요 말이야. 마셔 사들을 뭐 직장 매 답지 대왕요나 내 독서만 대대로 마셔 사들을 뭐 직장 매 지금 인정하셔 버리. 싫어당한 로사요 버리서 때리더니 현대화지 요때로 내가 좀 말아놓다. 들려 밤에 그들이 침박대 왔는데 밭에서 빌었다. 삼로땅 오 대리시잖아. 땅은 로사양도 없지. 그 대시를 들려 내가 지금 대시 이제 섬적을 내가 지금 좋아하며 와가지고 요래 최대한 배도 고요래. 뒤집어야 되나 내가 지금 로드 바를 로니 오 땅가 싫어. 마셔 제발 매다가 싫어. 강이 매스. 같은 때 세토살에 섬에 자신이 밭에 오래.
So there are many different commentaries on the Poa practice, but first of all, there are two major conditions or criteria that must be met in order to, as a prerequisite for the Poa practice. And so the first one is that we must sever our attachment to this worldly life, this lifetime. Sakya Pandita had said that one who is attached to this life is not a Dharma practitioner. So no one understands that their happiness comes from their actions they have accumulated in previous lives. And not knowing that people become distracted by the pleasures of this life, not knowing that in previous lives they have practiced generosity and morality and patience, and as a result of all these actions they have now found a precious human body, and they have harmonious companions, they have a lot of wealth, or they have husband, wife, and children, and so on. Many don't experience any illness in their life, they are happy in their minds. There's many people like that in the world. But then if things are going so well, if life is happy, then they only can see the qualities, the good qualities of this life, and then become distracted. And ultimately, that good quality of well-being actually turns into a fault. And that is because of the 4 maras, we become controlled by the mara of the son of the gods, the pleasures of this life. We are distracted by the happiness and the pleasures of this life, and then believe that I don't need anything else. I have a good life. And those people then don't know that that happiness comes from the marriage they have created in previous lives with a mind of love and compassion. So they are ignorant of the causes that led to their well-being, and they think that the reason why things are going well is because they have worked very hard for it, or they have studied and so on. They think it was that all is earned. They have earned that through their own efforts in this life. And so that is when we have that kind of state of mind, then there is no way that we have any freedom beyond this life at all once this marriage comes to an end. So, for example, you have 2 siblings and they turn out completely different. One experiences suffering, one is more happy in this life. That is all because of karma. But because beings don't understand that, that is why we call them ignorant. They are really ignorant when it comes to karma, ignorant of the workings of karma. And then if you're ignorant of karma, you will not be able to accept whatever suffering you experience now in this life, and you will become distracted by the pleasures of this life, and will not be concerned about future lives to come. And not being concerned about future lives, then you only engage in actions that are constantly motivated by afflictive emotions, by greed and by jealousy, by anger and so forth. And therefore, the Buddhas have said what sentient beings all want is to be happy, but what they really do is to create even more causes for suffering. That is why we call them ignorant sentient beings. So if you experience, often people experience so much suffering that they even wish to die. And so they commit suicide, for example. So then they also are actually completely let go of their attachment to this life, but that's not the one we actually mean here now. But it is that no, we are creating more causes for suffering, that kind of attachment to this life. And so actually in that first criteria, this attachment to this life, that actually is the greatest hindrance to the Pova practice. So first we must really cut through this attachment to the pleasures of the happiness of this life. And so then secondly, once we have cut through the attachment, we also must gain confidence in that there is another place to go. So when we think about, first of all, we need to think about karma and develop trust in karma. And we do that by reflecting on the 3 lower realms, whether or not they really exist, and then the Pure Land of Deva Chen, and so on. And then through understanding karma, we establish that through the cause of bodhicitta, that bodhicitta will create the Pure Land of Deva Chen. So actually it makes logical sense if you imagine taking all of the loving and compassionate people of this world and putting them all together in one country. For example, if you put all the bodhisattvas together in one country, then that country really is just like Deva Chen. And then likewise, if you put all the angry people together, then that place will be just like hell. Or if you put all the greedy people together, that place will be just like hungry spirit realm. So this is how we can develop trust in karma, and then through that we develop a wish to go to the Pure Land of Deva Chen. And through that you will be able to see this entire life to be nothing but a dream, the dream of one single night. And then you will want to engage in the training of the Pova. So when you train in the poem, then you are certain that there is a place for me to go, and that is Deva Chen. And after I have died, this is where I will go. So you're making up your mind. You want to go there. And you have no desire to become attached to this worldly life. Because also you have understood that there is no one in this world who doesn't have to die. There is no way to stay in this life. We are bound to die. And then when I die, then I have a place to go, and that is Deva Chen. So learn about the qualities of Deva Chen and read the prayer to be born in Deva Chen, and learn about the Buddha Amitabha's qualities of omniscience, of compassion, and his power to grant protection, and so on. So learn about all of this, reflect on it, and develop trust. So you know that there is this place for me to go. And then you will not become attached to this life. Of course, we need to make a living, we need to live in this world, but without the attachment of that there's only this place to be. So the attitude to develop is that it makes no difference to me whether I die or not. I'm ready to die, and when I die, I will die with great joy. There will be no difficulty because I know I have this place to go. So these are the 2 criteria, like prerequisites for the Pova practice.
그래서 다 형제라 로도 유선을 드리면 받았지라 다들 놀았대 형제 쪽을 다 사지가 밤에 그 사지가 밤에 kimbe 이식해 simp지 탑지 주고 봐버든 나왔다다 밤에 저거 길에도 나왔다고 강은 되게 simp지 탑지 그들이 갑자기 simp지 탑지라 맞아 봐서 제가요 침박을 했던 놈이 끼치겠다. 동네 당신 챙겨요래. 제가 누가 대 콩나무 사축세고 또들 소소게들이 대파이 짓지나 들이 사축세고 또들이 거기다 기술비가 차트고 요래 힘받지가 내 봤을 하고네 오다 산지에 밥에 대래 이 산지에 밥이 찍는 소 대화진이 조그마나 양 토교에서 저리로 밤에 고독다들 신기 상상이야 밥들이 계속 밤에 요래 돈다고 샘 코랑 대식이 뭐예배 뒤용뒤나 뒤들이 사지에서 잡아매 봐요래 뒤 저번에 뒤송을 쏜 거예요 거기 따와면 또 라만요 생이도 사지에 뭐 다주시 대당리 사자집에 따도 샘지 탐지 샘 잘만 놓았지 이제 첫동만 하지 샘들이 뭐 그럼 사지에서 하고는 이 거기에서 말해 대답을 동당은 뭐냐 싹바도 사지 다 얘는 저거요 어떤 분이 사지에 대해서 시합을 먹어라 애들이 이쪽으로 오다 이시지 욕탁가요 어째서 그래요 매일 기억을 소시 대봐요 난다 매난다 섬대식이 뭐 그런 거 좋아요 애들이 그래서 소리 랑바이 매라서 밤에 짝을 도무로나 제발이 대해서는 오탄 로슬랑과 가리 난 로슬랑과 싸워 말이지 들이들 곰디 연거리 들이가 밤에 이치지 대화전을 도둑이잖아 들이 싸워 맞다 곰디 연거요래 들이 질리들 세븐데는 펩 카라리 하자 사도 봐야 될 남자 가지고 싸요래 내 사도는 다 사고를 다한테 들어가서 삐지다고 너무 제고래 들아 랑게 대누 제고래
So you first develop this aspiration. I want to go to this land of Devachan. And so then whose land is it? It is the Buddha Amitabha's land. And the Buddha Amitabha has these qualities of omniscient wisdom. And with omniscient wisdom, he sees all sentient beings. So Amitabha's nature is the Dharmakaya, that is all-pervasive. And also Chandresic is his emanation, and Chandresic also fills up the entire sky, the entire space. And so with their great omniscience, they are able to see the karmic ripening and suffering of all beings. And then the second quality is that of loving compassion. And that is those Buddhas all love sentient beings, all sentient beings in the three realms of samsara, like a mother would love her only child. So they regard sentient beings at any moment. At any moment, they are fully aware of sentient beings' suffering. So that is also their love, their omniscience and their love. And then thirdly, the power to grant protection comes from their power of bodhicitta, that is always present. And if you yourself give rise to faith and trust, then you will really merge non-dually with their power of bodhicitta. So understand the qualities of the Buddha Amitabha in this way. He has these qualities of omniscience, compassion, and a power to grant protection. And even though he dwells in this pure land of Devachan, he still is all-pervasive. He's just like the sun rays. His rays of compassion are all-pervasive. So from a relative perspective, actually, it is said that above the crown of every sentient being, there is a Buddha Amitabha. So therefore, Buddha Amitabha manifests in as many forms as there are sentient beings. And then from the ultimate perspective, it is due to the quality of Buddha nature that all beings possess that we are actually always inseparable from the Buddha, Amitabha, from all the Buddhas. Lord Jigten Sumgön also said, now when you have, in terms of having realized the view of Mahamudra, he said that I have now recognized that my mind itself, that I have never separated from, that itself is the Buddha. So when you realize the view of Mahamudra, then you realize that you have never separated from all beings. And that mind that never separates from all beings, that Buddha nature, is like pure water. And all beings have that, and that is why we say all beings are actually Buddhas. So on the ultimate level, we are even closer to all the Buddhas. And on the relative level, the Buddhas dwell within us in the essence, having the essence of our own wisdom awareness. And the Buddha Amitabha dwells above the crown of all beings. And that is whether or not they have devotion, whether or not they have any faith. He dwells there because we are connected to him naturally through Buddha nature. And there is no distinction between who one is, whether or not one follows a religion. There is no bias, whether one is a Buddhist or not. One can take the refuge vow, that is up to oneself, but then the Buddha abides above the crown of all beings without discrimination. And so then that's the destination then. And so for the path, the road to travel there, that is the central channel. And so if you know all of that, then a wish to practice will arise within you. So now you have developed trust in the Buddha Amitabha, the Pure Land of Devachan. You want to go there. And then how to go there is through the central channel. So you will consider it as very significant, like there is some really delicious food and you just want to eat it quickly. So it is something that you really aspire to. So therefore what's really determining here, the determining factor here is your own aspiration, the way you see things. So the most important factor really is the wish to actually go there.
사토도들이 슈거들이 저기 예들들 합터들랑 몇간 통 때문에 이제 띵하는 서로 요와자요 대대탑에서 좀 세절을 빌리봐 이거 봐 토고를 빌려 와서 전부 토고를 내가 고려서 이제 와자서 토고를 대사를 오 술을 피는구나 다가 네가 지는 조금도 들이 밤마반에 참선들이 가져오면 좀 변들이 작합들이 저러고 작합들 몇살 맞잖아. 내가 정말 좀 차도래. 맨날 아리베시 차나들이 수량 팽기요래. 내가 보지나. 그제가 죽었지 소문들이 엄마 내가 지나 소문들이 선진이랑 팽기요래. 대답을 하고 자진 좌측이 죽으려고요래. 토마르 내가 지는 저기 로체치파 제요래. 들들이 보았냐면 들이 디모용고요래. 포악을 당하고 대밀라 이런 포악권에 맞선 거 말에 같이 모여랬지.
So now you have a family, for example, or you have companions in this life that you love very much, and you also your entire life you're getting along really well, which is a good thing. But then, due to that, we are also developing a very strong attachment to them. And then if we die, one dies then with such an attachment, then that will be very harmful for oneself and also the other person. Then oneself who has died, the one who has died will not attain liberation due to this attachment. And then the one who is left behind, even though we actually want to help the deceased, the consciousness, even though we want to help them, often we cause a lot of harm due to the attachment that we have, due to self-grasping. So this is how, with our attachment to each other, how we are harming each other. So actually better to think that if you first get to the Pure Land of Devachan, when you're born in Devachan, you attain the Bodhisattva Bhumi. And being born there, then, you will therefore also have many abilities. You're able to see all those beings who have left behind, your family and so on. And then also you will have an ability to benefit them, to help them. So you become actually endowed with great power once you're born in Devachan. So therefore, you should think that if I really want to help them, then first I must take birth in Devachan, and then I can really help them. And that's just like you are traveling to a good country and you become a citizen there. Now, if you just go there and you don't become a citizen and just roam about the country, then it will not be very helpful, very good for your entire life. But once you become a citizen of, for example, America, then you naturally attain some rights of a citizen, so some powers. You can help other people, and you can do many things that are beneficial. So you should think that first I shall go to Devachan, and once I'm there, I can benefit many sentient beings. So this is how we need to cut through the attachment that is holding us back. Now, when you engage in practice and you really have an aspiration to go there, then you will engage in a practice of Pova, and it will become stable. It will become a very strong practice. On the other hand, if you do not have this instruction about cutting the attachment to the life and all these previous instructions, if you do not have that, even if you practice Pova, there will be not much power from the practice. So that's very important.
인적 미적 도전은 좀 공부리지 얼마 가시 무슨 냠을 내용도 고소래도 못 못하게 저거도 다야랑들 공부를 빼카고도 오지 도지 밤을 욕들 겁는 그래 때문에 냠용 그 자리 무슨 공다 돼 대회는 포함을 이다서 저런 거 이담 가리는 지고 람스 인고 요래 당하고 나한테도 인하반디 인자바디 싫래 이담때 사이는 가리 사고도 도와서 하루 습지고 습지 탐지가 사제 토고 선이 습지 이제 제지 람스라고 다 받아 버려 다 버려 나쁘지는 저희한테 이제 좋다고 하지 그 사이다 왔다 되나 또 사기지 돌아 루지로요 루지소라 들이다다 양강한테 들이 양강한테 제르면 루지소 같이 잘르르줘야 이거래 빼세서는 같이 보여래 놀랑 나오냐 루지 탑let은 이게 다 벌라고네 들이지네들 겁나야 보아지다를 지내서 고고고요 또 거기서 싸움만 대치고 건 거래 그 싸움만 들었더니 보아지니더니 고마워가야 라마다요래 대양까지 되나 고조 자릉자 요가라서 그 장통이 그 따콜로 막고 싸움을 딴 거요 대다 고들은 납시다는 소로래 그 고토서 고잡고 그래 맞아 직접 맞아는 싸움만 찍고 되는 가동가 왔다고 고를 때야가요 들어가서 막도 고치요 말에 마치르들이 레그 왕그양 고저를 들이 소소를 고라서 와요나요 그 사족수고 고잡으로 그래 습지 삼치 동들이 습지를 때리지 이 소소고 고잡으로 그래 산로만 땅 거만 잡으면 죽고 건 들이라게 담 가래에 밭에 건 들이지 예단도 좀 고면 되라 다과다리 되라 소가요래 대사에 그 탑지를 다과다리 집에라 그도 탑지 차로 탑지라 변에 시와를 제쪽성을 해 대쪽성 도지도 사서가 다리 pero 사도 자들라서 dimba 서선 조바 되게 거들이 다리요래 다리 제양도 지나고 다테레스 Garchen, the Yadam Kari, not the Kayori, the Gonan, how much was on is.
So then when we actually come to the practice of poem, here according to this text, we are visualizing ourselves as Vajrayogini. And that's because now in the Kagyu tradition, when we engage in the practice of the channels, winds, and drops, the main Yidam deity is Vajrayogini, also following Milarepa's instructions. And so now, even though we are being told to visualize the Yidam Vajrayogini, it is not absolutely necessary. So for example, there are some beginning practitioners who have asked the question on even how to visualize Vajrayogini, because Vajrayogini is visualized in a standing posture, so she's standing upright. And then people have said that it's really very difficult when I'm sitting down here practicing to visualize myself standing up. That's really difficult. Can I not just visualize Vajrayogini sitting down? Actually, that kind of question is a question that comes from experience and really a sign of meditation. And you can actually visualize it in whichever way it suits you. And it doesn't even have to be necessarily Vajrayogini. In other Pova practices, there are different Yidam deities, for example, Chenrezig. So whatever is your Yidam deity, the point of visualizing the Yidam deity must be understood here. And that is, normally we think that there is an I. We have this concept of a self, like I am, this is who I am. And that is what must be changed. And therefore, it is necessary to visualize yourself as a Yidam deity. Then you become the Yidam. So actually, first of all, you begin the practice with the motivation of bodhicitta, wishing to benefit all sentient beings through this practice. And then, in an instant, you visualize the Yidam deity. And in this way, you are transforming your impure illusory body into the pure illusory body that appears like a rainbow. And that possesses all the aspects of the generation stage, that is the purity or the clarity of the deity, the purity, and the divine pride. So by visualizing the deity, you're forgetting about your ordinary body. So if you think about the deity over and over again, you habituate to visualizing yourself as the deity, you will forget about your ordinary body. And there are even some who have attained the rainbow body through the power of that. So a method to the visualization of the Yidam deity is the method to let go of this concept of I, a self. And so that is the point of the Yidam, and therefore it can be any other Yidam as well, like Chenrezig, for example, as it is taught in other Pova practices. And so the main focus of the visualization in the Pova practice is actually the central channel. So we, for the most part, actually should only focus on the central channel. And in other Pova practices, it is also mentioned that we need to block different doors, different openings of our body. Also, there is different channels and winds, yogic practices that speak a lot about the chakras and the channels and the openings, the doors that need to be blocked and so on. And so from their perspective, for these yogic practitioners, then because they contemplate these openings and channels so much, there is a need for them to block those doors. But now for us, actually it is better if we don't even think about these doors and blocking them. It is best just to see your body like an empty house with a pillar in its center. And traveling through this central channel, the opening at the crown will naturally become opened. Now, if we think about closing certain openings and so on, closing certain doors, then often by thinking about it too much, actually the consciousness might even actually go in there. And moreover, even if we conceptually close those doors, if we really have the karma to take birth in a certain realm, then through the karmic force, the consciousness will go there anyways and leaves through a door that leads to birth in the 3 lower realms. So the way to open the door at the crown and to close all the other doors is really through bodhicitta. That closes all these doors naturally without having to think about all these doors. So you cultivate a wish to benefit sentient beings, and there is no need to think much about anything else. So cultivate that wish and think of the central channel, visualize whichever Yidam deity. So here we visualize ourselves as Vajrayogini. Visualize clearly, remember the purity, and develop a divine pride. For example, when we remember purity, that means that the deity's outer form, the ornaments and the body color and so on, they all represent a certain meaning, a quality within the deity's mind. For example, a peaceful deity has 13 different ornaments or elements that make it up. And that reminds us of the quality of the 13th bhumi that is attained. Or there are various other ornaments that represent the 6 paramitas, for example. So by visualizing the deity, we also remember the pure quality that the deity represents through its outer appearance. And so, again, it is fine to visualize any other Yidam deity. So here, however, now we are instructed to visualize Vajrayogini.
Rinpoche chong de rang sen la zo di so so sen la ga chabo de me chi wo de bo bo chung chung de sa rang sen la ga che zhen go so chabo na de sa pa la me do pe me da ma la yi pe ha ja sa pro mo re so so de sa ho lang de sa ma la cha wa sa pa Sava the Uda Demba, Longata, Nana, Singlet, Rangi, Shikata, and Betty, Longer, Bota, the Uda Demba, Tatuk this and this Bongbang Auto, and Yatsu Bota, Kale, Yatsu Bota, it's here, so.
And then it is taught that the central channel possesses 4 characteristics. And number 1 is that it is completely straight, just like a bamboo reed without any joints. Then, in terms of its thickness, it is said it has the thickness of your own ring finger. So if a person is a bit bigger, then it would be bigger, and if the person is smaller, then the central channel also slightly thinner. So the thickness is your ring finger. And then thirdly, it is very subtle, very thin, like a petal of a lotus flower. And it is slightly blue outside and slightly red inside. And fourth, it is clear, luminous. It is just like a light pillar. It is because the central channel is a wisdom channel that it appears as a luminous, like light tube through your body. And ultimately, its essence is empty, like a rainbow in the sky. So these are the 4 characteristics of the central channel.
Mane Pogdo, Trianti Kai, Dr. Hachibata, Imala, the Nitata, Subuka, Sanji, Pami, Shap, Yep, Tong, Mari, Kadi, only. The little poor John Gazatri, Yard, the Dapsi, Tinti, the Sabutong, took me, Sanji told 2 rules that he, Sabato, Betis, Mama, Saw, the Napsi Tinti, 그때들아 매도 빼마마고 총총들이 우막하는 적들이 제 책답을 양마해 봐. 너무 책답을 많이 봐. 빼마 라고 빼마 십시세 보지 이들한테 납치 인지 오지트를 막고 제마 삼소 가시들이 이로 양공고요. 가시를 초콜릿을 내는 장무송 직접 먹으면 오지트를 대단한 판단력이 비조금 돌아가거나 좋아가들이 원물 농구 요리들이 판단력이 와서 로 촉촉하고 되봐 대선지 양도권 그래서 대양상도 원물이지.
And so then the central channel is closed on the bottom below the navel, and it opens up at the crown. And so while we are still alive, we should visualize that the Buddha Amitabha above our crown blocks the entrance to the central channel at the crown with his right big toe. Now, when we train in the poem, when we practice poem, then often that helps some people. It makes them feel happy when they visualize how their consciousness moves up and then it touches the toe of Amitabha. So that is said to be visualized clearly. And then for the support of the consciousness itself, it is said at the heart center, inside the central channel, there is a very small red lotus flower, but that lotus flower is not like a bamboo reed joint. It is like a self-arising lotus flower with a pollen bed, and on top of that, there is your consciousness. Inside the lotus flower, there is your consciousness that is the size of about a pea and luminous red in color. In some other practices, people sometimes visualize also different syllables, which is also fine. But here, there is no such any visualization. You just visualize this red light sphere in that pollen bed of the lotus flower, and think that this light sphere, the size of a pea, is vibrating and it is ready to leap, ready to move up. It is stirred by the energy of the winds and ready to leap. It is very light. So that should be first visualized again and again.
어제 하고 오늘 지금 가면 나가서 또나 됐다고 직당 매버죠. 잡으면 가동가 왔다고 제 양당양도 보내드리고 봐. 정부 값도 제로를 양당양들이 이제도 검들이 법적 참달 납상주의들이 데이터가 데이터에서 차고를
And so then, in terms of your entire body, your own body, for this visualization, it is said the body should be visualized like hollow, like balloon. It is said like an empty, like a sheep's intestines, but it's hard to understand. So just like a hollow balloon, completely empty but clear. So you have this like empty house where you have a clear pillar inside it. So the way you should practice the visualization of the pova is that during your practice, first you can go through each of those visualizations, visualize it step by step, one by one, and then through habituating, then later you are also then able to instantly visualize the entire visualization. So that is how it should become.
따뜻한 물이 속치고 째서고 이런 거다 저동들이 고초성구 연진세 잡기도 막합니다. 요새 양양도 고초성구 연진세라 고초성구 연진세 물리 시송아 강요해야 되나 배나 다사다 소속의 잡동셔서 라마 게시니 수 임바 되라 주습도 고쳐서 때 우리 차가도 상이 시잖아 우리지 게되기 어디 하고 요래 그래서 다 되면 것도 받쳤다 그게 사람이 게시니 그게 가려나 조대는 어디 니가다 조대는 어디 니가다 소소라들 시합체 보면 중자장 통금을 용기 통구요 말에 대회들이 적당 중통나 랑의 중요고요. 제가 최소를 녹다 지는데 얘기나 대신에 가는 소부 책들이 20회가 자료요. 랑의 종락이요. 용기 통로 고속 가해나 이 책도 다 보자는 책 사지가 강을 꼭 게두세 그래도 인우 집게 빵 인피 집게 늘로서 요래 삼치 삼치를 제와요 견디는 인연 동대 가지를 좋게 잡도서 집으로 식당하면 많은 과다리에서 제다 대화다디 체미가 이제 로트더니 니 말을 틈하고 트는 대리지 견디 주성제 상제 탑재도 꼭 견디지 꼭 견디 봐라 상제 주성제 견디 봐 탑재 삼아적 봐래 들이 송 담출에 상들다 송 특별한 밤만 보여 주지 보고 제대로 오나 다 독다 취지만 누구 가래 야 취지를 가야 편거래 오늘 지자사 뭐 5만 년들로 또 같은 말도 도지 통을 추풍 제대로 또 사적 sem는 되네 주서 마보 제대 양 레점들이 심하지나 레점들이 심하지 주가 피토 맞아 말이 챘더라 마오버 편길이 주책이게 되나 편길 내가 챘다 편만 맞아 말이 된 직디서 송 강리 레점들이 시치잖아 주사미를 가다야 버다 레점들이 시치서는 몇개 주사만 하고 살았다 죽은 누구 하고 살았 뒤에다가 소노들이 원래들이 송 담시들 레점들이 저 삼세를 띠니 멋진 대와 타톡 대와 세라서 대비 저대다 삼세들이 삼이 semri chana ta sabte de toli cho 사제 삼제게 됐음지 사제 삼제게 사쪽 semtor 뭐지 송을 세를 뭐지 걸 뭐지 송요 말에 무슨지 사제 삼제 나오죠 삼제래 대소설 같이 소설 통증도 나그 또 내려도 지 삼제인데요 최다 휴면에서 문에 대리 근데 참만 오는 데가 같이 죽어요 그래서 왜 최다 휴면 종로는 거 직장매 이런 최다 휴면 종로를 찍어서 가래 되게 말상제요 왜 콜상제요 그래서 대도 상제요 총리 체납하고 들이 아소로 사바체미바 현재 유료제거에 추탐책 이모지 상제에서 하고 레이저들이 시대되지요 능의 강의 송체제 소리 다디기 제요래 다디기 되는 유모바 톡대 차마 다디기 제요래 삼티로는 라지가 파시 쪽 상고요래 또 속차는 라가 버리지 베치 받으라 저바서도 조바 탐지 라지가 상고요래 요디지 대지라더니 접들이 시절에 좀 추탐제 타서와데 dembal이 있어 그니 고조고 dembal에 접들이 시하고 지나 도다고 dem발라기가 통고요래 뜻가르치네 고조고 dem발 추상바 세미바 이제 sem바 지sem바 추세고 다지 매와로 이거 말이 딱 봐도 스피드업이 여고 차고 сам도 갑들이 신뢰 상속도 거기서 세들 라지가 나가는 차들이 그래서 동마사 동나가서 한매생들이 고주생들이 라지 여생주과들이 우리 하고 두고요래 제일 추상적서는 맞장하지 다음에와 하고나 때 같이 보여요 그래서 송다 주제 대만이는 도요래 대만이데 톱사지에 되나 주심지 사지에 sab지 생다 가서 sep대식 뭐지 생그람이 찾아만라고 사지 습니가 했지 하고로잖아. 때 나보다 왔대래. 대식이 뭐 와요. 첩 생기는 사지 집안에 생구 유는 가서 참아 찍바래. 데이터를 하고나 데이터 주심지 사지에 sab지 꼭 견디 송담도 톡사지 그들바디 세명 사제를 제가 우리 사제를 삼지요 소소들이 내가 로마 대양 라고 첫대식 좀 보여래 소소 산속 샘지를 대야 모두 좋다고요 자고로 스테서들이 그들바 찍을 카라카버트는 우리 주섬지 사제 주바다 총성을 대회는 타다라고 계획이 될 주섬지 사제 탑된 뉴데 생활을 밤에 낭들이라는 걸 대박하는 라마탕 대박 먹은 저하서 라마티 선대가 밤에 이상을 될 타이어로 도고요래 다 밤에 있으면 당연히 시비시대로 타마벨라마다 상고요 솔직히 지금 밤에 들들이 따뜻한 뭐 속체모 들랑 거 싸와라마다 예매봐 대신 들이들으라 이단 저와 차대 이거래 들어 밤에 같은 야송다가 별 룸이다가 납시 때에서 룸이다가 룸이 똑똑한 니 가까이 와 말이 나다 니 원하들이 하토라 별 때에서 양을 절체적 갔다 와서 거래 납시 때에서 룸이다가 얘는 들어 밤에 야송다가 들이 야송다가 예배 받쳐 거래 빼나 이제 소리 이해하면 받았더니 라면감이더니 사제석도 예배 받았어 그래서 하고 들었더니 랑게 내가 이시 랑이시 어때서 사람들이 참을 사야요 했지
So we visualize the Buddha Amitabha at the crown of our head, and first we need to develop a very strong faith and devotion to the Buddha Amitabha. And so for that, that really begins with the time when we take the refuge vow, when we take refuge in the three jewels. We take refuge because we understand the qualities of the three jewels. So these are the qualities that we need to bring to mind again and again. So if you really understand the qualities of the three jewels, then finally you will want to take the refuge vow. And when you take the refuge vow, then you should see that that guru who gives you that vow, you should see that within that guru, the three jewels of the 3 times are complete. So he embodies them all. And if you are able to see the guru, this teacher who gives you the refuge vow in this way, then you really have understood the qualities of the Sangha. If not, often people see the guru in an ordinary way, and they see that that guru possesses both faults and qualities. And often if you yourself then do not have great wisdom, then finally all you can see is their faults, and you cannot see any of their good qualities. And then when you only see their faults, then you will develop those faults yourself. So then your whole mind becomes impure. And then from that, many doubts arise, a wrong view towards that teacher. And if you doubt, then you will not even trust that teacher's words any longer. And then as a result, you will be disadvantaged, you will lose out. On the other hand, if you see the qualities of that guru, then all of these qualities will arise in your mind. And he is worthy of seeing and that you see his qualities, because what you really need to hold on to is that guru's words. And the words, the teachings, are the actual words of the Buddha. And any Sangha, the form of the Sangha, is the Sangha of the Sangha of the 3 times. And as such, as a Sangha, they are not harming others intentionally, and they are trying to help others as well as they can. So at least they all have that intention. They have love for sentient beings. There is no Sangha member who would not every day recite the refuge, prayer, and the motivation of bodhicitta. Every day, again and again, they cultivate the 4 immeasurables. praying, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. They think about sentient beings all day long. So therefore, their mind really can be said to be the Buddha. So the Sangha, the spiritual teacher, therefore, is the embodiment of the three jewels, of the three times. The form is, the body is the Sangha. And so within that form, all the Sangha of the three times is complete. And then the speech is the Dharma. And that is the Dharma, although it consists of 84,000 different teachings, what is the essence of the Dharma? Now, what's the benefit of practicing the Dharma? It is just like what the Guru does is he gives us the Dharma ready to practice. For example, if you have the milk of 100 cows and you churn it, in the end you have one piece of butter. So just like that, we're extracting the essence of all these 84,000 teachings. And the essence of the 84,000 teachings is bodhicitta. So even if you, on the other hand, even if you have learned a lot of these teachings, but if you do not really trust in karma, then all of these teachings will be not very beneficial for you, especially in this life. There will be some benefit in future lives from having learned, but what is really most important to be of actual benefit is to trust in karma. Therefore also Lord Chigden Sumgyön has said that now unless you really develop certainty in karma, cause and effect, or your certainty in cause and effect in karma really determines whether or not you are a true Dharma practitioner. It is not determined by your eloquency of speech. So it comes down to trusting in karma. So the Guru gives us the essence of the holy Dharma, and this is how we need to understand it. So it is bodhicitta, and it is to trust in karma, to trust in the quality of love, to understand that when the cause is love, then I will find happiness in this life and in all future lifetimes. That is really the essence that we should take. And that is why all of the Buddhas of the three times have spoken about the precious bodhicitta. They have never spoken about the precious gold or the precious silver. They talked about the precious bodhicitta, and that is love. So now where can we find this love? When you look at your own mind, there is at least some love, even the slightest love is present within your mind. For example, you love your cat or your dog. So that is the love that you need to identify, that feeling. And whenever it arises, you can recognize how happy you are. And then try to imagine how happy you would be if that love would be for everyone, for all beings. If you already feel happy by loving your cat and your dog, even if it's not a human being. So that is the quality of love that you should recognize. And then that small quality of love must be only increased until it becomes immeasurable love. And that really is the essence of all the Dharma teachings. So it is to develop trust in that. And also to recognize that whenever you encounter difficulties, that is all created by self-grasping. All of the afflictive emotions arise from self-grasping. And likewise, naturally, when love is present, from love, the 6 paramitas naturally arise. And everyone has love to some extent. For example, even an animal, animals care for their own children. And by caring for them, naturally, the practices of generosity, morality, and patience are complete. So when you trust in karma, then you will also trust in the words spoken by that teacher. And so, in essence, the Buddhist teachings, the Dharma, consists of the 2 truths, the relative and the ultimate. The relative truth is the infallibility of karma. If you trust in karma, actually you will see the ultimate truth naturally. And that is because, first, when you trust in karma, you will develop a mind of immeasurable love and compassion. And when that always remains in your mind, naturally, self-grasping will disappear. You always wish for the best of sentient beings. The self completely disappears. And then at that time, when there is an altruistic state of mind, when you then meditate in a state of shamatha or vipassana, then very quickly your mind can be experienced just like space. And then you see the empty, space-like nature of the mind that is empty and clear. And then instantly you recognize that is the mind of all beings. It is the same. My mind and everyone else's mind is exactly the same. It is this mind that is clear and empty like space. And on the other hand, if you do not cultivate bodhicitta, you might understand that there is no self, but that could lead to all kinds of other dangers. So the essence of the Holy Dharma is the twofold truth. And then the mind of the Guru is the Buddha, the mind of all the Buddhas of the three times. And that actually is connected to your own mind because you yourself possess Buddha nature. And that Buddha nature is like pure water. So actually, Buddhas and sentient beings are inseparable. If you understand that, you have really understood the Buddhist view. In the teachings it is said, Buddha nature pervades all sentient beings. And the Buddha also said, all beings are actually Buddhas. So we share the same mental continuum. There is really no difference. So if you understand that, you will understand how the Guru really is the embodiment of the three jewels of the three times. So the body is the Sangha, the speech, the Dharma, and the mind is the Buddha. And in that way, when you see the Guru, you will see the connection of the Guru to the Buddha. That is on the basis of the mind. And then also connected to your own mind, because also the disciple possesses Buddha nature. And if you give rise to bodhicitta, you can realize this nature, which then just becomes like an ice block melting. And then with that understanding, seeing the Guru in that way, it is said that if you make only just a spoonful of food offering to one Sangha, it equals to making an offering to all the Sangha of the three times. And so how then is that all complete within your Guru now in the context of the Amitabha practice? When you visualize the Buddha Amitabha, we have said we visualize Amitabha, but Amitabha has the essence of your own Guru. And that is within their mind. Amitabha's mind is the Guru's mind. So if you bring to mind, if you have a Guru that you are very devoted to, have a lot of faith in, and you are naturally connected to that Guru through your mind. And then when you think of the Buddha Amitabha, recognize that the Guru's mind and Amitabha's mind are actually the same. When we only think about Amitabha, then some questions may arise or some doubts may arise in our mind, or maybe a feeling of distance that do I really know him or not? But if you see him as the embodiment of your own Guru, then you will feel very close to him, very connected to him. So you cultivate that faith and devotion when you visualize Amitabha as seeing your own root Guru. So see him as indivisible from your root Guru. And in that way you will naturally connect to him. So you visualize Buddha Amitabha in this way, like a rainbow appearing in the sky. And the consciousness is like light that then moves there and merges non-dually. It is just like one light is one candle flame. One flame is merging with another flame to become one. So now there seems to be two duality, but when the consciousness merges, it is like two flames merging into one, or sometimes it is also said like water pouring into water. So you visualize that your consciousness then in the form of light merges into the luminosity of Amitabha. And you become non-dual. And actually, on the basis of mind, in your natural state, you already are indivisible from the Buddha Amitabha. And so now that's the basis, and on the path of practice, we just need to understand that actually I am indivisible from the Buddha. And so the path then is to develop trust in that, to develop trust in yourself, in your own mind, and certainty. And so through practice, this clarity or certainty of actually being one with the Buddha Amitabha will arise.
네 자와는 양선이 많냐 또 가같이 그래 자와감이 산호땅디 나쁜 데와지 시간 요디를 때나 라이고 곰 양검 따랐다 대대 장 야들이 리샤라선 오늘 야들이 곰이 야들이 말이 야들이 살때 람람람 트레이스만 그래 야들이 다톡지에 들어봐면 죽고 싸움을 죽고 죽는 대야 싸움만 죽고 말아봐면 죽고 다톡지 대로 야들이 자진 가까이 자진 쭉 가지고 톱는 양한테 제름 탑지 장 사이거는 있다. 양말 좀 양을 있다. 양점 대체로 하람 시작이 그래. 라마다 샤를 들티지 센티고 차라들이 물리 시작이 그래. 샬레트리 체지 박차도 그래. 같이 모여래.
And so then the learning of the practice, the learning and the actual practice, they actually those two, learning and practice, cannot happen at the same time. So you do them at different times. They are separate times. So first, when you're training or learning, that is when you're not in practice session. So when you're not in practice session, you're learning. You're reading the text, the visualization. You're learning about the qualities of the Pure Land of Devachan and the visualization of the deity and so on. Look at the picture and learn how it all looks like. And then in the actual practice, you bring to mind what you have learned. And as you read through the text, it all, one by one, instantly arises, one by one. So we cannot practice the learning and the practice together at the same time. So finally, in the end, when you have learned and then put that into practice, the main focus is only the Buddha Amitabha and the central channel, and especially the central channel, now for the training. So when you are learning, when you're not in practice session, then you can do that at any time, whenever you have some empty time. You look at the text, learn the visualization, look at the picture and close your eyes, have it appear, then look at the picture again and keep repeating that. And so in the beginning, the visualization will appear in your mind more vaguely, not so clear. And also it will appear in all different kinds of ways. And so you train in that until it becomes very stable. And finally, when it becomes very stable, then instantly, as you engage in meditation practice and in the session, all of that will clearly appear. And that appearance of the deity, that is what will then purify or turn away the ordinary habitual imprints of this life. So it's important to engage in the practice in this way.
나사 양다마다 로시오마 줄 셔도요래 대탐지야 가능한 의미는 사이를 제도 세다는데 봐 짜치고는데 봐 대답을 요아래 했다 음악에 딱하고 음악에 양장도 곰되나 이것이 망고요 했지.
And so especially we should always place our main focus on the central channel. So visualize the central channel again and again. And think that your consciousness is inside the central channel. And it is because the central channel is the wisdom channel that when your mind abides there, naturally your awareness will increase. And for example, those who practice the channels, winds and drops, they train for their mind wind to abide at the navel, because at the navel, below the navel, there is the entrance door to the central channel, through which the mind wind must enter inside the central channel. And when it enters into the central channel, this is the way to release ordinary conceptual thinking and wisdom, for wisdom to arise. So the central channel is really most precious. And now often also it happens that for some individuals, through the practice of focusing on the central channel and training in the winds and so on, it can create all kinds of illness and even lead to death. But even if someone dies without having practiced this perfectly at all, only through the consciousness being inside the central channel, it is said, at least one will take birth in the God realms. So that is the quality of just the central channel. It has this power. And so therefore you should meditate on the central channel again and again.
포화는 저런 거죠. 포화 찍고 용지 되게 제보더요. 대 용지 기치보래 용지 또도 되게 당대 중간에 저도 아버지가 막 소고요. 어쨌든 라마 삼키가 소고리 저 아버지가 시작했지 세배 대로서 아버지가 막 소고리 아버지가 누구지 저쪽으로 스피랑 이제 탐지 저쪽으로 사지요 밤에 자가는 요 산호텔을 먹을지 밤에 챙겨오는 동안 아무데가 다사야사 박테르사 되게 되는 보아를 다사학 temporary pena 내가 체크 때에 그때 내가 진짜 감 나타다 참이라가 데몬 탐지는 무슨 탐마바 탐지 냐미지야 가사고요래 되는 제가 지신 표현을 대해서 대로 용지 되잖아. 근데 포화 좀 배배잖아데 그래서 대라양 같이 모여야지.
So some people consider the training, the visualization of the practice of the pova as most important. But then, so it is of course important, but actually also my own root gurus have said to me what's actually even more important is to accumulate many Om Amideva Shri mantras. For example, my root guru would say you should commit to accumulating like 10 million Amideva mantras. And that thinking, while reciting those mantras, thinking that above the crowns of myself and all beings there is a Buddha Amitabha, just like in the image, but surrounded by a rainbow sphere. So that was the instruction of my own root guru. So always remember the Buddha Amitabha and recite the Amitabha mantra, however many, millions or hundreds of thousands and so on. And by reciting, accumulating the Amitabha mantra, you are actually developing the power to receive the blessings of the pova practice. So that is actually the greatest power to take birth in Dewa Chen. And then there is the prayer of Dewa Chen that was composed by Changme Raga Asem, and that explains the benefits of this Pure Land actually very clearly, and also for ordinary individuals how to engage in practice in order to be born there. So you should also study that prayer really well and accumulate the Amitabha mantras. And of course, the Pova practice itself, where we transfer the consciousness with pet and so on, that is of course also important, but also the Amitabha mantra recitation is very important.
Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Before everybody leaves, if we could just have a moment, we'll have lunch for everybody. But I just want to say that this POA teaching that we're receiving is one of the 6 yogas of Naropa. It came from Talopa to Naropa to Marpa to Milarepa to Gampopa, Padmadrupa, Jignasumgun, on down to us. So this is a very precious teaching. So the transmission that what Garchen Rinpoche has been giving us is from his heart into our heart. So as we have lunch and so on, and we go out into the room and around the grounds and everything, remember that this is glowing in our hearts right now. So whatever we do, whatever conversation we have, we should be allowing that to manifest and being aware of that. Not the least of which is the generosity that we should have. So please check out the tables that are out here, ways to be able to help us with the Sangha here and so on in the temple. There's Buddhas, for sponsorship of the Buddhas that will remain here for a long time. There's artwork that is out there. There is a Guru Rinpoche statue that is out there for waiting for someone to take home with them. There are consecrated Shakyamuni Buddhas that are out there. So there's a number of ways in which you can help. So we appreciate everything that you can do. Later on tomorrow, we're going to be doing a Jangjok. And that is where you can put down the names of deceased ones, loved ones that you have and so on, and there'll be a Jangjok ceremony tomorrow. And this helps to satisfy the karmic debts of those who have passed and so on, have been reborn, but yet have their karmic debts and so on, so you can help them to be able to overcome whatever negativities they have and so on. So that's the purpose of the Jangjok, and that ceremony will be tomorrow. You can get the cards and put them on the board out there.
What time do we start?
Jangjok, I think, is late in the afternoon tomorrow.
This afternoon.
Is it this afternoon or tomorrow?
No, this afternoon, what time do we start?
We'll be back 2:30, I believe. Rinpoche is always early, so I would assume that we'll begin at 2:15. So
Yes. One addition I forgot to mention, there are two Buddha sponsors. Total we have 11. but there were 2 from Germany. They would like to remain anonymous, but they've sponsored 2 more Buddha statues for $1,000 each, which will go towards paying down the mortgage. So, like Lance mentioned, we have when is it, in 2 years, when the mortgage
Yeah,
is
2020 is when the mortgage is due, 2020, so we'd like to be able to pay the entire mortgage off by that time. So that's what we're trying to do. So please help us in that effort. The lamas, Garchen Rinpoche, and all the lamas, they really do not like to have mortgages. So they get them paid off
Yes.
as quickly as we can. So if we can get ours paid off by May 2020, we'll mean we will paid it off in 5 years.
Yes, the good
So
news
that
is
will really
this
be
is the new, it's a younger center, but our Dugundama Surya is the only one just now in debt. But it is in the nation's capital. Truly, I mean, we are hoping and praying that one day our beloved His Holiness the Dalai Lama himself, when he comes here, will come and bless this temple. This is becoming a heartbeat in the nation's capital to send out love and light that he's talked about to our leaders, to our very busy businesses, and our Tibetan community is being greatly benefited here. We would like to support everybody. So please just remain. Lance and I do a lot of talking, and you see the Bui family running around doing all the work, and we are supposed to be like the board of directors, but in other words, they're doing most of the work. So it is so good to see younger folks, okay? Whether you are in New York or in California, today there's no excuse not to participate. You can, participate with us, and we really encourage the young people. Please make time. Okay, we have a fantastic Forerunner program by Lisa Bushman here. She's orchestrated. The book is out there, but it's the Garchen Children's Program that we really want to inspire and have people replicate around the world, right?
Okay, yeah. Just one more note. Over here is a beautiful statue of Vajrayogini. Please come and see this. This was generously donated by Osala over here today, or yesterday he donated. And as he was approaching the temple with the statue that he brought from his home in Toronto, as he approached the building, he saw a rainbow that was over the temple, and he got pictures of it on his cell phone. So very, very auspicious, and he generously, as I say, donated that. So come and take a look at that. That was a wonderful thing that he did. And lunch is being served outside on the porch. So I understand it's very comfortable out there, and you can bring food in if you like. So thank you very much.